Hi, I'm Deary. I'm 18 years old. I'm currently living in London, but I come from Truro originally. I got diagnosed with diabetes about 18 months ago. I was currently on insulin pens, and now I'm on an animas pump, which has really worked wonders for me. I'm a Sabre fencer, and I represent Great Britain at under 20 levels and at senior levels, which is any age, both in Britain and internationally. My aspiration is to go to the Olympics in 2020. I train Monday through Friday when I train. I normally start at about 11 o'clock and finish about 4 o'clock. In the first few hours are just me doing S&C in the gym, and then I have an hour off for lunch, and then we fence for a few hours. And that normally involves a bit of footwork and then just sparring with my teammates. I'm nearly away every weekend. I've been all over the world really. I go to Europe all the time, and next weekend I'm off to Strasbourg. As you can imagine, it's very hard managing the diabetes along with travelling. So, along with the help of Dr. Gallen, I've devised some strategies to overcome this. Before I do that, I'm going to talk through how a competition runs in fencing. So, normally we travel the day before, so that's a few hour flight, and we don't normally get to the hotel till quite late at night. Then we have dinner, wake up the next day and start quite early. So then we go to a venue. Then we have some pool fights, which is where you fight 6 other fencers. You do the first to 5 hits, and then, providing you've done well in them, you then go through to the direct elimination, where it's the first to 15 hits. And depending on how well you're fencing that day and how good you are, really depends on how long you're fencing for. So if you're not having a good day, you could just be fencing the pools and then you're out. Or if you're having a really good day, you could fence all 6 pool fights and then have 6 DEs as well. So it can be a very short day or a very long day, so it's quite hard managing the diabetes along with that. Our pump has really made a massive difference to me. Obviously was originally on insulin pens, and I found while I was competing it was very hard to manage my levels on them. So I then got a animas pump, which has really made the world of difference while I'm fencing. It has helped me control my levels, even if currently they're not as ideal as I'd like them to be. It's quite funny really, from when I got a pump I was a little bit worried about where I'd put it when I was fencing. So I had it in my back pocket of my breeches, which is what I wear when I fence. And I remember I was at the World Championships and we were doing a team event, and I was fencing Q8, and one of the referees came up to me and said, "What is this in your pocket?" He must have thought I was cheating or something, but I had to show him it was my insulin pump, and then he was like, "Oh okay," and then just carried on. Okay, so during a training week I am on, one unit is 15 grams of carbohydrate, whereas now when I'm on a rest day I've got 1 unit is 10 grams of carbohydrate, and I up my basal rate 20% the whole time on rest days. I also do this when I'm travelling, especially on long haul flights, as this keeps my levels down. Right, when I'm training, I normally set my basal rate to minus 80% throughout the day so that my blood sugar doesn't fall too low. I also drink a 30 gram of sugar in water, and I sip that throughout the day. And then I also have 15 grams of carbohydrate every half an hour to make sure my blood sugar levels stay constant. If I'm having lunch halfway through the day, as most of my days do, I normally have an hour off for lunch, I halve what my carbohydrate ratio is. So if it was 1 to 15, it's now 1 to 30, just so that I'm not going to go too low when I'm fencing afterwards. I also drink milk throughout the day, as I quite like milk, and this helps stable my levels as well. I'm normally not as good on competition days because I find my blood sugar levels are a bit erratic, and they change from competition to competition, normally depending on how stressed I am. So normally I set my basal rate as minus 60%, and I have my sugared water drink, but normally my blood sugar levels are higher rather than low, so I normally don't drink that as much. And I find it very hard to eat while I'm fencing, both because my blood sugar levels are high and I'm not normally very hungry. So it gets quite hard to manage my levels and my energy while I'm fencing, especially if I'm going throughout the day. Normally during competitions my blood sugar levels are always above 10. They've never been below 10 very often. Sometimes they go up to 16, so my range is normally 10 to 16 when I'm at a competition, whereas when I'm training it's normally between 5 and 8, so it's definitely not ideal during competitions. Obviously when I go away to other countries it's very hard to carb count, as a lot of the time I'm not really too sure what I'm eating, so this is a problem I need to overcome. I also find rest days very difficult, because if I've had a hard week training, the Saturday my blood sugar levels are normally fine, but on the Sunday they always shoot up, and even if I've changed my ratios, they still often go a lot higher, so I find this very hard to manage. On a training day, my total daily insulin usage would only be about 35 to 40 units, maybe a little bit more, whereas now on the Christmas holiday I've nearly doubled that and I'm still quite high. So I found the best way for me to lower my blood sugar levels was just spend an hour in the gym, and that really worked wonders for me.